of ethics. So before we start our program, let me introduce Miss Virtucio to have a short prayer.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. O God Almighty, behold us, your loving children. Offer you today our works and studies. Help us, good Lord, to be obedient to our teachers, to be kind to our classmates, and to be diligent in our studies. May you always grant us the courage to follow your way. The Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
So please be seated. So now let me introduce the first discussant to be discussed the topic of rules, and it's important to be discussed by Ms. Virtucio. Good day everyone, I am Virtucio. My topic is what is important rules. Rules are important for the smooth functioning of life, works, and society. Rules are important to social beings. Just imagine the chaos that results from the absence of rules. What happens with students and professors alike come to school in any attire they want? Imagine what happened in the classroom. Everyone wants to talk at the same time. Let's go out of the classroom for move examples. What if there were traffic rules? Rules can be expanded to include the Philippines Constitution and other law. What if there were no constitution and other law of the land? Rules are not meant to restrict your freedom. They are meant to help you grow in freedom, to grow in your ability to choose and do what is good for you and for others. Thank you. The next topic will be discussed Ms. Lurelay Tabano. So, good morning again. I am Tabano, your second discussant. So, my assigned topic is about moral and non-moral standards and how they differ. So, alam naman natin yung moral and non-moral standards, di ba? So, moral standards with its definition. Moral is the adjective describing
holy moral standard versus abiding by moral standard. Having free will or freedom to choose among alternatives, which implies prior analysis and study, is coming to terms with what you finally affirm or deny. When you arrive at a personal conviction and self-affirmation, you begin to own the moral standard. The moral standard begins to be integrated, internalized. You follow the norm, not because it is imposed by others, not because others say so or authoritatively impose it onto you. On the other hand, merely abiding by moral standard means applying them as a basis to resolve moral problems without necessarily having internalized them. Merely abiding by means once the enforcer is not around, the moral standard is not followed. Or if you do not own or internalize the standard, you will tend to use it for convenience, to evade responsibility, to put the blame on the standard itself when things do not end well. You simply become legalistic and adopt the maxims. Follow the rule or law. Even if the sky falls down, the law says so. The law is hard, but it is the law, according to Dura Index and Sedex. You follow the law because others, authorities, regulators say so, not because you say so. Only moral standard being internalized in them, making them part of your conviction. Internalized or embodied, moral standards are being followed with or without anyone telling you. You internalize a rule after using a reason to understand. When you are persuaded or of its wisdom, it becomes your basis of resolving an ethical problem. You decide to do something not because the law says so, but because you yourself say so. This may be termed as the embodiment of the moral standard in you. The moral standard becomes one with the moral agent. As moral agent, this moral standard becomes your natural and immediate basis of your ethical decision. The presupposition is that you have come to the own moral standard, and after having been convinced of its wisdom, having chosen it among other principle or standard, any dilemma regarding the standard has been resolved under the Chinese Taoist concept theory of harmony. This is where the thought of word and action become one. This author once visited a Taoist temple and had a chance to ask what Taoists live by as a principle of life. He replied, what I think must be the same as what I say, and what I say must be the same as what I do. The result of this oneness in thought, word and action, and its effects is an integrated personality in me. So, in this topic, only moral standard versus abiding. So, when we say only moral standard, it means nasa iyo na. And then, yung abiding moral standard, nasa sayo ang decision kung susundin mo ang isang rule o hindi. Kasi meron kang moral na nasa iyo. Sa'yo na lang kung susundin mo yung rules na ito. If you do follow the rules, then you'll be in good terms. But if you do not, there will be a consequences, and every breaking the rules, there will be a consequences to you, and masama yun para sa tao. And yun lang, ang pag-follow sa rules is this is the guide. Hindi siya talaga totally sinusunod. Nasa sayo kung susundin mo or hindi. So, the next topic will be discussed by Mr. Marcelo.
Good morning. So my topic is about moral dilemma and what it is types and levels. So moral dilemma is a problem in the decision making between two possible options, neither of which is absolutely acceptable from an ethical perspective. It is also referred to as ethical dilemma. So, sinasabi na ang isang moral dilemma ay isang suliranin sa pagdidesisyon kung saan kailangan pumili ng isang tao sa pagitan ng dalawang posibleng pagpipilian na pareho hindi ganap na matanggap mula sa perspektibong etikal. Ito rin ay tinutukoy bilang isang ethical na dilemma ayon sa Oxford Dictionary. Ito ay tinutukoy bilang suliranin sa pagdidesisyon sa pagitan ng dalawang posibleng moral na utos na parehong hindi malinaw na matatanggap or mas mahina. Ito ang tinatawag din ethical na paradox filosofiya. And bali sa kahulugang ito, mayroon ang moral na dilemma ng sumusunod. Una ay ang tao ay kinakailangan gawin ang dalawa o higit pa ang aksyon tinuturing na hindi moral. And pangalawa, kayang gawin ng tao ang bawat aksyon, ngunit hindi kayang gawin ng tao pareho. Pangatlo, ngunit hindi kayang gawin ng tao pareho o lahat ng mga aksyon. Sa ganitong paraan, tila hatol na ang tao sa moral na pagkukulang. Meron tayong 3 levels of moral dilemma. So, una is individual, organizational, and structural. So, sa individual, ito ay tumutukol sa personal na mga suliranin. Ito ang sitwasyon kung saan ang isang tao ay napipilitang pumili. Una is individual. Ito ay tumutukol sa personal na mga suliranin. So, ang kaso ni Haynes, tulad ng inilahat na bahagi ng aktibidad ng aralin ay isa sa mga kilalang individual na suliranin ni Culver's noong 1958. So, ang tanong ni Culver's ay ang mga sumusunod. Dapat ba magnakaw si Haynes ng gamot? Kung hindi siya magnanakaw ng gamot, nangangahulugan ito ng kamatayan ng kanyang asawa. Siya ay nahati sa pagitan ng pagnanakaw ng gamot at pagliligtas ng kanyang asawa. Ang suliranin dito ay hinaharap ng isang individual na nahihirapan sa pagitan ng dalawang obligasyon. Ang iligtas ang asawa o sumunod sa batas. Kaya ito ang isang halimbawa ng isang individual na suliranin. Pangalawa, organizational. Ang organizational ay suliranin ng isang pasanin na dulot ng mga pangangailangan ng isang lipunang organisasyon at ang kagustuhan ng mga miyembro para sa kanilang sarili kapakinabangan. Maaari itong umiral sa pagitan ng personal na interest at kapakinabangan ng organisasyon o sa pagitan ng interest ng grupo at kapakanan ng organisasyon. Halimbawa ng suliranin ay ang paaralang Katoliko na nasa yugtong aktibidad ng aralin na nagpapakita ng karapatang edukasyon para sa mga mahihirap. Kaya kailangan itong magkaroon ng pinakamababang bayad sa partikula. Subalit upang mapanatili ang kalidad ng mga guro, kinakailangan magtaas ng sahod ang paaralan. So, pangatlo is structural. Ang kaso ng principal kung dapat siya maging makilahok o hindi sa mga gawain ng paaralan, ngunit dahil hindi kasi ang karanasan, hindi na pagsubok na maging makilahok, nauwi ito sa pagsagawa ng isang human role. Ito ang halimbawa ng isang structural dilemma. Narito ang ilang halimbawa ng structural dilemma. Pagkakaiba versus pagkakaisa ng structural dilemma. Iba't ibang mga division ay may kanilang kultura at koordinasyon. Sa pagitan ng mga ito ay ang pagpapasanin, ang mga ito ay naging mas mahirap. Dahil sa decentralization, mas pinayagan ng mga lokal na pamahalaan ng kanilang mga gawain. Tulad ng mga paaralan na bibigyan ng pagkakataon na lokal na baguhin ang kanilang kurikulum. Sa epekto nito, mas naging magkaiba ang mga lokal na pamahalaan at ang kurikulum ng mga paaralan. Kaya mas naging mahirap ang pagkakabuklod ng mga ito para sa isang nakakaisang struktura. Ang pamamahala ng lokal at kurikulum ng mga paaralan ay naging mas komplikado. Kaya kinakailangan ng mas mahal ang koordinasyon. So, sa aking topic is, nalaman ninyo kung ano nga ba ang moral dilemma at kung ano yung tatlong level. Na ang una ay individual, organizational, and structural. Kailangan po. Kailangan. So, the next topic is to be discussed by Miss Eliza Lyn.
My topic is freedom and moral decision. Freedom and moral decision individual or group of people act in a particular way against their will. It often involves threats, physical force, or other forms of manipulation to compel someone to do something they might not choose to do voluntarily. Freedom and moral decision. Freedom and moral decision are intertwined concepts. Freedom refers to the ability to make choices and decisions without external coercion. Moral decisions involve choosing action or behaviors based on one's moral values, principles, and beliefs. The relationship between the two can be complex, as freedom allows individuals to make moral choices, but it also means taking responsibility for the consequences of those choices. People have the freedom to make morally right or wrong decisions, and ethical frameworks and societal norms often guide them in making choices that align with their moral values. Ultimately, the exercise of freedom in making moral decisions can have a profound impact on one's character and the society in which they live. External coercion examples are freedom of speech, medical ethics, environmental choices, capital punishment, whistleblowing, privacy and security, charitable giving, and voting. Sa pagpili natin ng desisyon sa buhay, syempre, may lang tayo na gawin yung dapat gawin or tama. Wala sa ating pumipilit na gawin yun. Yung kusa sa sarili natin na gawin yung desisyon na yun. Yun nga, sa paggawa natin ng desisyon, lalo na sa magkakaroon tayo ng problema, kailangan natin piliin yung dapat na gawin. Saka, matulad na lang may grupo, syempre kasamahan mo yung makakabuti sa'yo, doon ka sasama. Tapos, minsan, kung may gawin man silang, alam mo namang mali, dapat alam mo pa rin yung gagawin mo or kung silang susundin, dapat may sarili ka ba yung decision. Yun lang. Okay. The next topic will be discussed by Princess May Pantoja.
So good morning everyone. I'm Princess May Pantoja. So my topic is culture, how it defines moral behavior. So first, what is culture? Culture is the integrated pattern of human knowledge, beliefs, behaviors. This consists of language, ideas, customs, morals, law, taboos, techniques, and work of arts, and other capacities and habits acquired by a person as a member of society. So, according to Magisterium of the Church, culture is the set of means used by mankind to become more virtuous and reasonable in order to divine and ultimately to a religious dimension. So, sociology is categorized into material and non-material culture. So, pag sinabing non-material culture, it is the language, values, rules, knowledge, and meaning shared by society. So, pag naman material culture, it is the physical object that society produce, like tools, homes, streets, and toys. So, culture is passed to the next generation by learning, not through the genes or heredity. Culture change or evolve. So, there are various ways by which culture change. By inculturation, and by acculturation. So, what is the difference between the three? So, pag sinabing inculturation, it is the process by which an individual learns the traditional content of culture and assimilates practice and values. A person that grows into a culture acquires competence in that culture and takes root in that person. So, it means whenever the person is used to say say, to do, or to act since he was born, then he will continue to do it. So, for example, nito is yung say po or opo. So, tinututo sa atin ng bata tayo. So, hanggang paglaki natin is, nagagawin pa rin natin to or sasabihin. Parang, continue pa rin natin itong ginagawa. Hanggang tayo yung lumaki.
So next is inculturation. Pag inculturation naman, it is the process of engagement between a Christian gospel and a particular gospel. It is not an action but a process that unfolds over time. So this means that whenever you do something, you also bear in mind the Christian beliefs.
So, next is acculturation. So, ano naman ang acculturation? Acculturation, it is the cultural modification of an individual or a group of people by adopting or valuing traits from another culture. So, this means the merging of culture. So, for example, ng acculturation is yung borrowing of the fashion sense of the Philippines from the Americans. So next is how culture shapes moral agent. So culture affects the way we evaluate and judge things. Why? Because we have different cultures, beliefs, and different perspectives. For example, is celebrating birthdays. There are those person love to celebrate their birthday and other person don't celebrate their birthdays. So both beliefs are okay. There's nothing wrong with it. As a person, respect is very important even though we grow in different cultures. We must always respect each other's culture. Our main task in this world is to love one another, and in order for us to love one another, respect is a must. So I guess that's all from my topic. I hope you will learn something. Thank you. So the next topic will be discussed by Mr. Darryl Ken.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Darryl Ken, and my topic is cultural relativism and cultural perspective. What is cultural relativism? First, relativism says what is true for you is true for you, and what is true for me is true for me. Analogously, cultural relativism would say what you believe, value, or practice depends on your culture, while what I believe, values, and practice depends on my culture. In other words, cultural relativism is the idea that a person's beliefs, values, and practices should be understood based on that person's own culture, rather than be judged against the criteria of another stated in another way. Sinasabi dito na ang relativismo sa kultura, cultural relativism, ay ang pananaw na ang lahat ng paniniwala, kaugalian at gawi ay nakadepende sa kulturang ginagalaman ng isang individual. Sa ibang salita, ang mali at tama ay depende sa kultura. Ang tinuturing ng moral o mabuti sa isang kultura ay maaaring ituring na masama o immoral sa isang kultura. At dahil walang kapaghatang pamantayan ng moralidad ang umiiral sa walang karapatan, walang karapatan ang sinumanong husgahan ng kaugalian ng isang sosyedad. While cultural perspective is the process of understanding things in terms of the culture that surrounds them. People naturally tend to view things in terms of the norms, symbols, and values of their own culture. As such, the term of cultural perspective refers to trying to understand events and cultures outside your own with knowledge of the culture and